Howdy, this is Lemmy with RevZilla, here to talk to you today about Rizoma turn signals. You should be looking into a set of Rizoma turn signals for your motorcycle if you're looking to indicate turns, possibly let people know when you're pulling over for a breakdown, or if you just want to annoy a motorist behind you for miles and miles on a two-lane road. Now, these things are currently fairly universal, but Rizoma does have a couple of vehicle-specific products. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but for the most part, you probably don't need the bike finder for these. Instead, you're going to work stylistically and figure out exactly what has the appeal you like for your motorcycle. Installation on these, I would say, is a fairly standard job. We're going to call it maybe, say, a difficult one-bearder or an easy two-bearder, depending on what it is that you need to put on your bike and what it is that you need to take off your motorcycle. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but this should be pretty approachable for most home mechanics. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Rizoma brand, this is an Italian company and they make moto sexy. Everything they make is absolutely beautiful for your motorcycle, and their turn signals are absolutely no exception. Now, before we get into these things and talk a little bit about them, you need to know a couple of things. Firstly, if you're watching this video, you've probably already figured it out. However, if you were looking at the product photos, you might not have. These things are absolutely tiny. It's why they look so itty-bitty wee up here. They're just a very small turn signal. It's not immediately apparent from some of the product photography because depending on your device, you may actually be seeing these larger than they actually are in real life. So you should know these are exceptionally compact. Now, most people are going to find this to be a benefit. I think most people are looking to sort of minimize those big, dorky, clunky looking turn signals they have on their motorcycles. But you should be aware if you do want one of those big, dorky, clunky things, Rizoma's probably not your brand. So the other thing you need to know about these two, they're exceptionally bright. These are E1 certified. These things are crazy bright. Despite the fact that they are small, they are unbelievably visible. It's sort of what separates your junker Amazon turn signal from something actually quality. These things are packing a lot of punch in a little tiny housing. Those housings are generally made of aluminum. These things are absolutely gorgeous. They look great in every bike, and they really do work well. It's a genuine upgrade in terms of turn signals. All too often, we've seen manufacturers create turn signals that may look good, however, they don't function very well. That's not really great for just about anybody. So we're gonna zip down the line really fast here. One of the things I do want to mention about most of these turn signals, you'll notice there are turn signal load resistors right in the box for most of these, and they are sort of coupled up directly for the load, engineered specifically for that particular turn signal. It's kind of a nice to have. It saves you from having to guess what resistance you need when you're looking for a set of load resistors. Moving down the bench, obviously you can see we have a couple different styles here. Now, looking at these, you'll notice that some of these are going to be geared towards certain types of bikes. Some of them are a little bit sportier looking, and then we have others that are a little bit more classic. Obviously, they're going to appeal to different riders on different bikes, especially if you're putting something custom together. Something here is probably going to catch your eye, and you're going to say, that's the turn signal for me. Rounding things out, we had talked about some vehicle-specific stuff here. Notice we have an electronic flasher up here. We also have two, these are adapters. These are really neat. So these are bullet connectors on one end, made to go into the Rizoma bullet connectors that come stock on the turn signals. However, the other end of these are factory pigtails. What that's going to allow you to do is remove your stock turn signal harness from your bike without cutting into your bike side wiring harness. You can simply run these between the turn signal and your wiring harness. You're not going to have to cut any wiring up. For me, that's very, very important. I don't like hacking up original bike harnesses, especially on so many modern bikes that are CAN bus controlled. That can really cause all sorts of flaky resistance and electrical issues. So personally, I think that's an absolutely great add-on there. Again, these are going to be vehicle specific. If you're shopping for a set of these, you're going to want to check out the bike finder and see if Rizoma makes one for your motorcycle. But I think this is a really cool addition to their line of turn signals. Now, when it comes down to installation on these, I'm going to say this is reasonably simple for most people who have already done this job. If you've ever installed turn signals before, this is going to be very similar, very familiar, nothing crazy here. If you've never done such a job, you should know that you've got a couple of things to consider here. There are a couple mechanical things to think about. You need to actually make sure you have space to move these things onto your motorcycle. Oftentimes, these things are so much smaller than a stock turn signal, another piece of your motorcycle may actually obscure them. For stuff like that, you're going to notice that Rizoma also makes some spacers, and that's in order to bring them a little bit farther out. Again, so these offer you the conspicuity you need to stay safe. Now, some of the other considerations you've got here beyond just simply installing these mechanically onto the motorcycle are also some electrical considerations. So again, looking at that electronic flasher again, some of these wiring harnesses, you may be comfortable, again, if you're making a custom harness for your custom motorcycle, you may be perfectly comfortable wiring these things in directly. For those of you who are not, you may want to start with something like a harness. In any event, the wiring is very simple on these. However, again, coming back to that CAN bus issue, as well as even just basic wiring in general, if you're not 100% certain how to wire these on your bike, it can make sense to get into your factory service manual, check out that wiring diagram, make sure you're not about to foul something up big time. All that having been said, it's not a scary installation on these for just about every motorcycle on the planet. You should have a pretty easy time putting these things on there. I gotta be honest with you, I really like these things. They're absolutely dead sexy. I was blown backwards the first time I saw one of these things lighting off. They're so crazy bright. I can't imagine a turn signal with better conspicuity on the market today. Don't take my word for it though. Click down below, check out some rider reviews, people who are rocking Rizoma turn signals on their rigs, see what they think about them, see what might work best for you. Now, if you've got more detailed questions, something you didn't see covered here by me or by a rider rocking a set of these, don't be shy. Get in touch with one of our gear geeks. We got people standing by looking to help you. 877-792-9455. If you want to give us a jingle and a telling bone, of course, you can always get us by email too. CS@RevZilla.com. I'm Lemmy. I'm out of here.